Hello there. Welcome back. I hope that you have watched the part one of this series, and I hope that you enjoyed it and learned something about the history of tea from that video. And in this video, I'm gonna continue from where I left off. And yeah, today as well, I have a lot of ground to cover because the story of the tea is very intricate and there's a lot that happened in the past, and this commodity is actually pretty intense if you look at its history. So, yeah, so let's jump into the video directly. Oopsie. So, yeah, I discussed all of this. I discussed, I guess, about the Chinese Empire and how it was the first place which kind of commercially grew tea, and how it was the only and sole exporter of tea all over the world, and how the whole world got addicted to tea, especially the Britain. Yeah, so all of this I discussed. So I ended up here, like how the British Empire was looking for an alternative source of camellia because being dependent on China was not a very viable choice, because first of all it was very costly on the part of the British Empire, because they had to pay China in silver. So that was not a feasible choice, that was not a feasible option. So they were on a lookout for this plant. They finally found it in the within the Indian subcontinent, in the Assam and the Darjeeling region. This plant was found to be growing uh, and in a jungle, in a very wild way, obviously, and all of that had to be brought under control, and those forests have to be pared down, and civilization had to be brought, and yeah, basically the art of tea making had to be learned before it could be made into a commercially viable industry for the British Empire. So the secret of tree growing was still not known, because China was holding it like a very uh, as a very long held or a very precious secret. And finally the secret was let out by was kind of revealed to the world by this botanist who kind of traveled to China and lived there for years. He was a Victorian botanist. His name was Robert Fortune. So he traveled to China and stayed there for years in disguise of a Chinese farmer, and he lived on the farm, and he learned the art of tea cultivation from there, and finally brought back this secret to the rest of the world. So, yeah, the role of Robert Fortune in the story of tea is very important, and it has been covered by a lot of authors and researchers in their works. I'll link some works, I'll write the name of those works in the description box, because those works are very interesting, especially the story of Robert Fortune and how he stole the secret of tea is very interesting. So, yeah, that was about it. So now that I've covered all of this, let's move on to the next part. Move on this. Yeah, so I'll be talking about a little bit of the opium and the opium war between the British Empire and the Chinese Empire, and why did it happen, and what was the role of tea in this very infamous war. So, in order to fund this very expensive tea trade, British Empire was looking for several alternative sources, and one of the way to fund it was through opium. So, British Empire was cultivating a lot of opium within the Indian subcontinent. They were forcing a lot of farmers to grow opium in India. And the opium that was grown in India was illegally transported or exported to Chinese borders. And the money that was made from this very infamous drug cartel was used to basically fund the tea. And this opium trade got a very bad addiction in the Chinese people, and it destroyed families. A lot of families and a lot of people were destroyed due to this very infamous drug trade which was going on, aided completely by the British Empire. And when Chinese authorities came to know about this drug trade that was going on, they tried to ban this trade. And once they banned this trade, there was retaliation from the British Empire, and they launched a full-fledged war on the Chinese towns, on the coastal towns of Chinese. I think in Guangzhou and Canton, if I'm not wrong. Uh, I'll have to check that. But in the Chinese towns, they kind of launched a war known as the Opium War. So this war was fought solely because of two plants, if I may say so, for basically camellia and opium. So this war happened. However, I'll not go into the details of the Opium War because this is just another video. So the Opium War happened, and finally British side won because they had more advanced ships and more advanced weapons and all of that. So they won, and they got the opium trade legalized, and they also took some of the Chinese ports for their trading purposes. And in this war itself, I think Hong Kong was taken by the British Empire for almost 100 years. So, yeah, all of that happened, and finally, opium trade was legalized. And this was one way in which the British Empire funded the expensive tea trade. So there you go. I've roughly tried to cover it because that's also a very long story, opium trade. I might cover this in some other video, but yeah, right now I think that would be enough. So that was what was happening with the China. Within India, they were trying to create tea plantations because I don't know if I should go on because this video has been going on for 7 minutes. I think I should stop right here because yes, I don't want to make it too long. I want people to actually watch the video and not get bored. So I'll stop here and I will continue in the next video, which I'll be uploading pretty soon because I want to now complete this topic. Okay, so I'll see you soon and stay tuned for the next part. It's coming very soon. Thank you.